Okay. Good morning. Hope you guys are staying safe and doing well. So let's just get back on track. Let me pull up the syllabus, see where we are. All right. So this is our third meeting out of five, every other Saturday. And so today we're on schedule to keep to the syllabus. And so we've done everything up to meeting 1 and meeting 2, which was chapters 1 through 5, and we did the elasticity homework up to last week. Okay, and so I think first we'll do the midterm review, and so the midterm's not due for a couple weeks, but it's going to be on the materials that we've done chapters 1 through 5, and the elasticity homework. And so I think the first thing we'll do for the first session, the first 2 hours, is I prepared a practice exam in with my solution, so we'll go through that, and I'll make sure you guys are good to go on what to do for the midterm. And then I will post the midterm on Blackboard. It's got instructions on it, but it's due via email, just like it says on the due date on the syllabus. So you have 2 weeks to do it. It shouldn't take you that long, but just think of it as like longer homework. And so the first thing we'll do is go over the midterm. We have a practice exam, and we'll go through that. And then I will post your midterm, and that will be due before next meeting via email. Okay, so that'll be the first section. First portion. Okay, and then we're going to move on to the second half, I guess, of the course material, which will be chapter 8. And so this material will be on the final exam, and so this won't be on the midterm. And so that's why I think we should cover the midterm first, because this material is after. So we'll do the midterm material, I'll post the midterm, we'll make sure everyone's good on that. And then, just based on how the class is structured, we'll move on to chapter 8. Normally I'd have we'd be done with the midterm, then we move on to chapter 8, but because this class is structured as basically two meetings in one, we have to do it like this. So, chapter 8 will be the second portion of today's meeting, and again, that will not be on the midterm. All right, so yeah. All right, so just to cover a few things before we get started on preparing for the midterm, I updated or I graded your first 2 homeworks. Everybody did the homework for chapters 1 and chapter 2 and chapters 3. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, chapters 1 through 2 homework, and chapter 3, those are done. I posted my solutions, which I'll show you, and I updated your grades. And so you should see your current grade for the first 2 homeworks on Blackboard when you view those. And you can see my solutions in the appropriate section. So I put the solutions for homeworks 1 to 2 here. Okay, and I put the solutions for chapter 3 in the chapter 3 section. Right there. Okay, and so sometime before next meeting, so today you do, I think 3 assignments. Yeah, so you have till the end of the day to do these, so just make sure you get those in sometime by midnight tonight, or let me know if you have any questions. But when everybody's turned in the elasticity homework, the homework for Chapter 4 and then the homework for Chapter 5, which we're all due today. Okay, at some point over the next 2 weeks before our next meeting, I will grade all those. I will post my solutions, and then we should be updated up to that point. Okay, so hopefully everybody was able to see you guys all did pretty well, or very well on the homework, so double check your scores. Let me know if you can't see those. Look at my solutions if you missed any points. But everybody did very well on average. And I think that keeps us up to date up to this point, and so that'll be, yeah. Okay, so again, here's our schedule for today.
Professor, I have a question.
Yeah.
So for homework, I just want to confirm the due date. Is it due like midnight tonight, or is it due midnight Friday?
Well, I didn't really specify time on the syllabus, and so because of that, I'll just say like any time today. So the homeworks are due on the Saturdays. But I mean, I thought I specified a time, but I didn't, and so just because of that, I'll say any time on a Saturday. So anything that's due, for example, today is Saturday, July 11th. So any of the 3 assignments due today are technically not due until midnight tonight.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And based on the homework assignment, I mean, the graded one, so they are being graded whether the answers are correct or not.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So so if you I don't know exactly what your scores were, but if you got 100%, then you got everything 100% correct. If you missed any points, then you should be able to see what you missed on my solutions. But yeah, I did grade all the homework.
Okay.
If you missed anything, you might have lost a few points.
Okay. And for elasticity homework, I had a question.
Sure.
Because some of the regressions, they do have the price and income and the intercept,
Yep.
but some don't. So is it normal to not have like price or the income based on the data given?
Yeah. So depending on what the equation you're supposed to specify, let's do that one. So you're running the equation where you're doing estimations of elasticity based on the data you have or the problem you want to answer. And so you can answer the question with price and income, with just price, but it doesn't matter as long as you do the same steps and answer the appropriate equation estimation. But
okay.
Yeah, so you should interpret it the same way depending on if you have one or more X variables, I guess.
Okay, so whichever one that we have in the summary in the regression calculation, we can just use those numbers and input it into equation.
Yes, yeah. So right. So let me just pull up let me make sure I'm answering your question correctly. But here's the homework assignment. All right. So for example, number 12, question 12, based on the first one here. When you open up the file and do the data analysis, you're going to have something for quantity, price, and income, or the natural log of each of those. And so when you do it in Excel and get the coefficients or the summary output, you should have this for each of those, right? So you should have, for this one, you should have something that goes in for this data, for the intercept, and then this data, and then this data. And then some of the ones that only have one, like this one, you should see that you only have data for the quantity variable, natural log of quantity, and the natural log of price, and so then you only have the one. So so whatever the question asks, you should get the appropriate output when you do it in Excel.
Okay, got it. I think it was number 18, so just wanted to make sure.
Oh, yeah, so that one has one less. And so you should be able to do the same analysis whether you have, so a couple of them had price and income, one had just price, this one had price and income, and then this one had advertising, right? Yeah, this one had advertising. So yeah, the analysis is the same, it's just with this one, for that problem, there's only data on price, so you only have to worry about the price elasticity.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so we'll start doing the practice exam for the midterm, kind of like a review session. Any other questions on any of the past homeworks? Everyone's already submitted the first two assignments, and you should be able to see my solutions and your grades. So let me know if you have any questions on that. And again, there's 3 assignments due today, which are the elasticity homework, which I just talked about, and the homework for Chapter 4 and the homework for Chapter 5, which go into the discussion forums. Okay, so I just answered a few questions on the elasticity homework. Any questions on that homework or any of the other 2 that are due today? So if you have any quick questions or issues with those, I can answer those right now just in case you have those, because those are due today. So any questions on the 3 assignments due today before we move on to today's material?
I did have a question on the graph for Chapter 4.
Okay.
I had a really hard time. I don't know if it was just my Excel, but I couldn't figure out the graph.
Okay, that I can show you do that. So you don't have to do it in Excel if it's easier for you just to plot the points on graphing paper or something like that. You're welcome to do it. Just draw it on graphing paper and just do it like that. Or I can show you how to do it in Excel. Let me just bring mine up real quick.
Okay, thank you.
But just so you know, the Excel analysis is I'm doing it that way because it's pretty much impossible for me to use the whiteboard with this online technology, at least for now. And so it's easier for me to show you in Excel. But here, let me show you what I did. All right, so I think this is the one for Chapter 5, if I'm not mistaken. And there's another one of these for the midterm, and so we can answer these questions again when we get to that. But for this one...
I can't see anything.
Oh, sorry, hold on. Let me... Okay, can you see now? Okay, great. All right, so this is the Excel version of part of my solutions for the homework Chapter 4. And so what I did, if you want to do it in Excel, this is what I did. You put so this is like, you pick one of them that's X, which is candy. The other one's got to be Y, which is peanuts, and then it's got to equal your income. So if you specify the kind of first equation like this, that's basically like your PXX plus PYY equals M, which is just specified in Excel. And so that way that gives you all the combinations that make this chart, right? So the price of candy is 75 cents and the price of peanuts is $1.50, and those different combinations both exhaust your income of 15. And then if you make this whole chart, like all these combinations that equal 15, and then you just select. So I just selected the X and Y. So basically just plotting out the points. So 1 point is 0 and 20. The next point is 18 and 1, and so you're just telling Excel to plot these points as like a scatter plot, but it's going to be a straight line, and so that's all you have to do. So you set it up like this. Actually, here, let me. All right. So you just select those points like this, and you go in Excel and you just make a graph. So I'm going to go to Insert. I'll start with the recommended chart to see if it's there. Yeah, there it is. So you want this one, which is called a scatter. All right. So if I choose that and hit OK. Okay, so that's the basic chart with all the points. The rest of it is just adding labels and doing little rearranging on the axes. But that's all you have to do for basically to get the graph is just to plot all the points in a table and then plot those points using just a scatter plot in Excel.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So if that doesn't work, you can let me know. And again, if it's easier just to do it on paper, you can do that. But this is how you do it in Excel. So let me know if that doesn't work, and I can help you with that. And also, when I post my solutions, you can look and see like the formulas are in there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so any other questions on the assignments that I did today? USSC homework chapter 4, homework chapter 5. All right. So anyway, those three are due today, which a lot of you have already submitted. If you have any more questions with either of those three assignments, you can let me know. All right. So let's move on to today's material. So the first thing we'll do is to do the midterm review, and so you probably saw that I posted a practice exam for the midterm with my solutions. So let's go through that now. Okay, and then once I answer all your questions for this practice exam, I will post just on Blackboard the midterm to you guys, and then that's due the email in 2 weeks. So let's do the midterm review. Let's look at the practice midterm I put up here. Hold on a second. Let me close a few things. Okay, alright, so you can see my Blackboard page here. Alright, so if you go down to the very bottom on the left, I made a section called midterm for this current term. Alright, so midterm summer 2020, let's click on that section. Alright, so we got a practice midterm we're going to look at right now. There's an Excel file that goes with the midterm. And then I have my solutions in the Word document, and then you're going to have to do some Excel too. So we'll go through all this, and then once we're good on prep for the midterm, I'll post your midterm that you have to do in the same section. Okay, so first, you can open up, here's the practice midterm. Okay, so we're going to go through the answers in detail, but your midterm that you're going to get after we're done with this is going to be similar to this structure. So there'll be one question on the net present value.
So it's only going to be 4 questions total?
Let's see. Yeah, it's going to be four questions, yeah. Yeah, so, right, 4 questions that are 25 points each, yeah. So the first one will be on net present value. The second one will be on elasticity. And so this one, you're going to have a little data file that you have to do a regression analysis, just like you did for your homework, and then talk about that and answer the questions there. Okay, so you got another one on the budget line analysis. So this one, again, I did the graphs and charts in Excel. So you're welcome to do that, or you're also welcome to do it just on graphing paper if that's easier to you. Okay, and then the last one, number 4, this is from chapter, basically one question on each chapter, I think. For chapters 2, 3, 4, and 5, there's a question. And so this is on chapter 5 that we did last week on choosing the appropriate amount of input to get a desired output. Okay, so we'll go through all these right now, and then I'll post your exam, which will be similar to this, but yeah. Okay, so let's look at. I solved this practice exam, so let's go through that and let me know if you have any questions. So let's go back to the Blackboard section. All right. So the Excel file, we'll get to that, the question too, but let's start with just the practice midterm solutions. All right, so let's open that up. Okay, here we go. So this is already posted on Blackboard, so this is there if you need this to look at for when you do your exam. And so again, all the exams are take home. It's like a big homework. So you're welcome to use your resources and notes. Okay, so here's let's get to the first one. Alright, so this is a variation of the net present value. So here we have a disc jockey is contemplating the purchase of a new turntable that will cost $1,000 and has a useful life of 5 years. The turntable will yield year-end revenues of these things. So this is the revenue that is received in each of the first 5 years. So 500 in year 1, 300 in year 2, and then it looks like $100 in years 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so the turntable only lasts for 5 years, and here's the general equation that you use, like for your first homework. And so the question is, what is the net present value of the turntable if the interest rate is 5%? Okay, so just one clarification. If you look at my solutions for homework 1, so most of you guys got this right in the homework, but the net present value is the whole stream of costs, the whole stream of benefits minus the cost. And so some of you just put the benefit part. Let me show you what I mean. Just let me show you the solutions real quick for number 1 in the homework for chapter 1. Alright, so these are my solutions which are on Blackboard for the chapter 1, chapter 2 homework. And so just to clarify, the net present value is a net, so it's not just the present value of all the income or benefits, it's also that you have to take out the cost. And so what I'm trying to say is, some of you just put this part as your net present value on the homework. Which meant it was like, so the net present is all of that minus 100. So that means the net is something like 20 or 21. But some of you put like 120, and which was still correct because you explained that the costs outweigh the benefits. The benefits outweigh the costs. But technically, the net present value is the benefits minus the cost. So I didn't take up any points on the homework, but when you do the exam, make sure you subtract the cost from the net present value. Alright, so just adding all the costs, the benefits together, that's the present value. But when you subtract the cost, that's the net present value. So you want to know if it's positive or negative, not just the total benefits. So when you do it on the exam, make sure you subtract the cost from your stream of benefits. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So when you see your homework, if you put like 120 instead of 20, I still give you full credit because you explained it right, but net present value should be, you subtract the cost. Alright, let's go back to the practice exam. Okay, so here is the question number 1 on net present value on the practice exam again. So what's the net present value of the turntable if the interest rate is 5%? That's the first question. Okay, and so you want to use the general form and put in the current year's revenue and then discount it based on the period or year it's in. So if we did $500 in year 1, and that's discounted by dividing it by 1 plus the interest rate, so 1 plus 5%. is 1.05. All right, then year 2, you get 300, and that's divided by 1.05 squared because you got to wait 2 years. All right, you get the idea, and so 100 in year 3, that's discounted by dividing it by 1.05 to the third for the third year. Plus year 4 is 100 divided by 1.05 to the 4. And then year 5, the last year before it's expired, is 100 divided by 1.05 to the 5th for year 5. All right, so that's the benefits, and then to get the net, you want to subtract the cost of 1,000. Okay, so if you do this in a calculator, you should get something, I believe it's like a little less than -5. So that means all the benefits were less than 1,000. So when you take out the cost, it comes out to something like -4.69, which is about -5. Okay, and then what you see here is that with the cost subtracted, it wasn't worth the investment because the net present came out negative. So should the DJ purchase the turntable? And the answer is no, because the net present value is less than 0. So what you would tell the DJ or the investor here is that rather than spend $1,000 on the turntable, which will give a negative net present value, the better investment would be to take that $1,000 and put it into the bank that earns 5% interest, because that'll be a better use of the $1,000. Okay, so number 1, you'll get another one on net present value. Again, most people got this correct on the homework, but any questions on this type of problem? Okay, sounds like you guys did good on this one. And so again, these solutions for the practice exam were posted. You can look at those, and you can look at my solutions for the first handbook assignment as well. All right, and so also on the exam, you can use whatever method you want to get the answer, but make sure you show your work for this calculation. Okay, so just show this part, so I know that you know how you got the answer. All right, so just show the breakdown of the calculation for net present value. Okay, so number 2 is going to be another elasticity regression question, and so you're going to get a data file to use for this one. And so for the practice one, it says use file Q2, and so I put that on Blackboard for practice, so we can open that up. And so back to the midterm summer 2020 section, you see this is just a practice file, so you see an example of what you're going to get. Okay, so you get a file with some natural logs that you're going to estimate. So here you got the natural log of quantity, the natural log of price, and the natural log of income for a bunch of observations. Okay, and you would use that to answer the questions, and so I've already done that on a separate file, but just take the data that you get for your midterm and then do the same analysis you did on the homework. Okay, so you would use the file you're given, and then you're going to estimate an equation based on what the question says. So estimate the following: log linear regression. So the natural log of quantity is a function of some intercept, the natural log of price, and the natural log of income. Okay. All right. So part A is going to be to just include a screen cap of your analysis. So you don't need to turn in when you submit your midterm the email. You don't have to submit the Excel part. Just the final answer sheet with the screen cap. Okay, but I did put mine up here in case you want to look at it. So here's the Excel part of the answer key. All right, so the midterm solutions for Excel, we can open that up, and I think that has this question and the budget line one. Okay, so here's the data that was just given to you. And then the second tab is the regression with the summary output. Alright, so all you have to do is that you take the data that's given for the midterm, you do the same thing with data analysis, and you get your summary output like this. Okay, and then for part A of question 2, you just need to take a screen cap and put that into the answer key or answer sheet, just like you did on your homework for the ELAS system. Okay, so this goes here in the answer sheet. Alright, so there's part A. Okay, and then the rest of the questions will be similar to what you did on the elasticity homework, so you got some practice here. Alright, so part B is to write out the equation with the coefficients. I'll be right back. I'm gonna refill my coffee. Just give me like 20 seconds. Okay, so you've had practice on this. Then all you gotta do is start with the general equation, and then plug in the coefficients you get from your regression. Alright? Okay, and so make sure, like, even if somehow you get different answers, like if something happens and you get a different summary output than what you're supposed to get, even if you do that, still use what you got, because you'll get most of the points if you use the whatever coefficients correctly. So make sure you show all your work. Okay, so here we got the coefficients, and so we're plugging in the intercept coefficient, which is about 1.5, and then the natural log of price coefficient is about negative 0.17, and this one is 0.04. So we put all those into your equation. And so you get the natural log of quantity is 1.5096 minus 0.1690 times the natural log of price plus 0.04 times the natural log of income. Okay, so just use your coefficients to define your equation. Okay, and then part C is you're going to interpret the adjusted R squared, and the adjusted R squared for this example is very high, 0.9996. Okay, and so that means that that's the percent of explained variation for the y variable. So that means 99.96% of the variation in LMQ is explained. All right, then you want to interpret or just identify if the coefficients are significant or not. And just to clarify here that I haven't graded your elasticity homework yet, but some of you make sure you use the t-stats, this column for defining significance. So the coefficients are separate from the t-stat, so the numbers you're looking to see are bigger than 2 are right here. All right, so the t-stats for each variable determine if it's significant or not, and so the coefficients are separate from the t-stats. So you have the t-stats here, which are negative 62 for LNP and 47.5 for LNI. All right, so they're both clearly way bigger than 2 in absolute value. So this one's bigger than 2. That's significant. And also for LNI, that's also way bigger than 2. Also significant. So that means you can interpret both coefficients and trust that your data is correct. Okay. The last part for number 2 is part E, which is interpret the coefficients for your explanatory variables and significant variables only, and in this case they're both significant, so interpret them both. Alright, so the coefficients are the same thing that went into your equation, but the coefficients are from right here. For LNP it is negative 0.169, and for LNI it's 0.04. Okay, and remember there's 3 pieces of information you can say about each coefficient, and the first is we're doing this because we want to identify the appropriate elasticity. So what type of elasticity is it? Okay, so the first one is concerned with the natural log of price. So that's the own price elasticity. Okay, it's inelastic because your coefficient in absolute value is less than 1. And then the third piece of information is concerned with just the numerical interpretation of what that coefficient means. And so this is the okay, so this is the effect of the natural log of price on the natural log of income. So how responsive quantity is to percent changes in price. Okay, and so that means this is a 1 unit change in the price variable, which is in percent. So if price increases by 1%, so then what's the responsiveness of demand? And so this coefficient is the percent response. So in this case, quantity demanded decreases by the coefficient, which is 0.1690%. Okay, and I think, so normally you don't have to use 4 decimals. I think I even simplified it down to 2 on the midterm. The only reason why I use 4 decimals here is because the R squared was so high that if I used 2 decimals, it would have just been 1. And so I didn't want it to be 100%. So I had to extend a few decimals just because the adjusted R squared was so high, but 2 decimals is normally fine. Alright, last thing is to talk about the coefficient for the natural log of income. And so you know that that's looking at the responsiveness of demand to income, which by definition is the income elasticity. Alright, so is that coefficient less than 1 in absolute value? It clearly is, so that means it's inelastic. Okay, and then remember this is how income, not price, but how income affects demand. So all the variables measure how that variable affects demand and then the responsiveness of demand. So the interpretation of the coefficient is always how demand responds to that variable's change. So here, a 1 unit change is income going up by 1%. So if income increases by 1%, then quantity demanded increases by a very small amount, but 0.04%. Okay, so you guys have had a lot of practice on these, but so just make sure you understand the interpretations. If you missed any points on this one on the homework, then just make sure you look at my solutions if you happen to get a chance to look at those. But any questions on this type of, we've had a lot of practice on this, but any type of questions, any questions on number 2, how you interpret all the elasticities, what you're going to do for the midterm?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Alright, so number 3 is going to be on the homework type from chapter 4, which was on the budget line analysis. Alright, so this example, let's suppose you have a budget of 120, and to maximize utility, you decide to spend all your income on whiskey and pancake mix. The price of whiskey is $40 per bottle, and the price of pancake mix is $10 per box. So that's your X and Y grid, and your income is 120. Okay, so you can start with the general equation, which is Pxx plus Pyy equals M, and just make sure you clarify the equation first. Okay, so you can make the first item always the X, and the second one always the Y. It doesn't really matter, but that's how the solutions will be based. So let's say the first good is X is whiskey, and good Y is pancake mix. So that means that PX is the price of whiskey and PY is the price of pancakes. And if you put that into the equation, this is your budget line for this example. So 40x plus 10y equals 120. So that's your full equation for at least for part A. Okay, part A is to construct a table showing the alternative combinations of the two products that are available. And so you want to specify this equation. Okay, and then identify the combinations of X and Y that give you the 120 that exhausts your budget. So 3 times 40 plus, 3 times 40 and no pancakes is 120. 2 times 40 plus 10 times 4 is also 120. And also 1 times 40 plus 8 times 10. Okay, and then also if you buy no whiskey and all pancake mix, you can buy 12 of the pancake mix. So all those combinations are 120. Don't worry about like fractions, just stick with the whole numbers. Okay, so in the solutions Excel file, I put my Excel work for this question if you want to look at that. Okay, so if you do it in Excel, you can just specify the budget line equation with a simple formula, which is basically 40 times X plus 10 times Y equals M. So that's what I specified here. So see how it grabs the different amounts we buy of each good. Okay, and then if you want to graph this, again, all you're doing is adding the points. Okay, so if you set up the chart in Excel and then just select this area, and just plot the points, then that's your budget line. So just all you're doing is you only have 4 points here, 3 and 0, 2 and 4, 1 and 8, and then 0 and 12. So this is you can buy all pancakes, you can buy all whiskey, or these combinations will be same. Alright, so part B is to plot the data in your table as a budget line in a graph. Okay, and then what's the slope of the budget line? And what's the opportunity cost of one more bottle of whiskey or one more box of pancakes? Alright, so remember the slope of the budget line is always negative px divided by py. In this case, px is 40 and py is 10, so the slope is negative 4. Okay, so the opportunity cost is what you give up the other good to get more of the other. So every time you gain a bottle of whiskey, you lose 4 pancake boxes. So plus 1 minus 4, plus 1 minus 4. So to gain a bottle of whiskey, you have to give up 4 boxes of pancake mix. So that's the opportunity cost for that. Is 1 bottle of whiskey equals minus 4 boxes of pancake mix. Okay, but what about the other way around? It should be kind of the inverse. Every time you gain 4 boxes of pancake mix, you give up 1 bottle of whiskey, so specify that. So 4 boxes of pancake mix equals minus 1 bottle of whiskey. But you want to know how much 1 is, so just divide by 4. So that means that 1 box of pancake mix, you have to give up a 4th bottle of whiskey. Yeah, so that's the opportunity cost of each of the goods. All right, then here's the graph. And so again, all we did here is plot the points from this table in part A. All right, so you can plot the points in Excel using a simple scatter plot chart, or you can just do this on graphic paper, whatever you like to do for your midterm. Okay, then part C, we have something changes, so we're going to shift the graph. So part C is, as a result of the government stimulus payment, suppose your budget increased to 400. Now let's show the new budget line for part C in our diagram. So I did this part in Excel as well, if you want to see that. All right, so for part, whatever this part is, the prices are the same at this point, but your income increased. So that means that your budget line is going to shift out. All right, so from 120, it's going to shift out with the same slope of -4. Okay, so now your budget line is still the same Tx and Ty. So 40x plus 10y equals now your budget is 400. Okay, so now you can buy more combinations because you have more income. And so these are all the possibilities that exhaust your income of different combinations of whiskey and pancake mix. Okay, so you can buy all of one good. So if you buy all whiskey, that's 10 times 40 is 400. Or if you can also buy all pancake mix, which is $10. So 40 of those is also 400. Or these combinations in between are also feasible that you can choose. All right, so these are all the combinations of each that give you exactly $400 that exhaust your budget. And then all you can do for this one is plot this new budget line. Okay, so here's the part of that where one extreme is 40 boxes of pancake mix. The other extreme is $10 of whiskey, or these points are all possible in between. So all we did here was plot the points that you specified here. So again, in Excel, if you want to plot this, write the chart first, and then select this area, like all the points, and then just insert the scatter plot, and it should do it for you. Okay, and then here's the screen cap, or here's the copy and paste of that chart. So here's the new budget line with the income of $40. Okay, then part D is, I think, one of the prices change. Now suppose that the price of a box of pancakes increased to 20. All right, so that's going to change the slope of your line, right? So note that your income is still 400. Okay, so part D, the price of a box of pancakes increased to 20. Let's draw the new budget line, and your income is still the same as it was before. So now your income is 400, and the price of good Y increased to 20. Okay, so here's the last part. So you just, again, if you're doing it in Excel, just specify the equation as your budget line. So now it's 40 times X plus 20 times Y equals your income, or your budget. Okay, and you can see the combinations change because one of the goods got more expensive. So now you can buy 10 boxes of whiskey and no pancake mix. You can buy 20 boxes of whiskey, 20 boxes of pancakes and no whiskey, or all these other combinations are possible as well. So either of these, 0, 20, 118, 216, those are all possibilities that exhaust the $400 with a new price pancake mix. And then if you specify all those and select this area and plot it, okay, there's a graph of that. So here's the new budget line after the final price change. Alright, so there's the original one, and here is when income increased. So your budget line shifts out. And then here is when the price increases, so that basically means your budget line kinks in. So you can see that before, this intercept was 40, but because of the price change, this intercept drops, so this budget line shifts in, and the new y-intercept is, I think, 20. Okay, and then there is the graph of that you can take a screen cap or copy and paste into your answer sheet. Okay, so questions on this type of question, the budget line example. So you have one of these on your midterm, and again, you're welcome to do it in Excel like I did, or you can do it just on graphing paper and draw it with a ruler, etc. But okay, so any questions on this one, including any of the stuff I did in Excel? I can do any more of that again if you want.
Can you show one more time how to do how to put the formula into the Excel?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Okay, let me do it. Let me just do it. I'll just do part like the first part from like a blank. This way, I think let me just do it step by step so you see it, and then I think you'll have a better idea. So let me just. Okay, so you want to start with whiskey and pancake mix and income as the labels for your graph. Okay, so this is and then we're going to specify the budget line equation in here, and I got C2, and then we can find the different combinations that exhaust the income. So you know that you start with an income of 120, and the price of X is 40, and the price of Y is 10. Alright, so start here and just do just write a formula equals 40 times A2. There's nothing in there yet, but we'll put it in there. Okay, and then plus 10, the price of Y times B2. Okay, and then that's it. So when you put the appropriate numbers in, it's going to give you, or you want to see what adds up to 120, right? So it's just 40 times A2 plus 10 times B2, which is like TXX plus TYY. Okay, so we can start with how much, we can start with like the y-intercept, which is whiskey. So we know that this costs 40 and our budget is 120. So you can probably see that if you buy 3 of this, that exhausts your income, right? Okay, and then what about if we buy only 2 whiskeys? Okay, so you can drag this formula down, which is going to apply it to row 3. Alright, so how many of the pancakes do we have to buy to get to 80? So, I mean, I actually forgot what it was, but it says 40 times 2, which is 80, plus, and we have to get another 40. So 4 of these, right? Okay, then what if you buy 1 whiskey? Alright, then you can drag the formula down again to get this one, and then we only have 2 more rows, but so if you only spend 40 on this, then you have 10 times this to get the other 80. Alright, so I think it's 8. Or you can buy no whiskey and all pancake mix and exhaust your budget that way. So this is 0. And you can see this is going to be a plus 4, which is going to be 12. And if you drag that budget line formula down, this is the same one for this row. Okay, so in Excel, that's how you, and then Excel will confirm that your math comes to 120, so it kind of double checks for you. And then if you have this to graph it, just select the points of A and B. So if you did it like this, you can select A1 to B5 like this. Okay, you can go to Insert and then Recommended Charts. Okay, and there's the one you want, the scatter. You can hit OK for that one. Okay, and then the rest of this is just formatting. It gives you like the title of the y-axis, but you can change the. I don't know why it gives you like 0.5, but I mean this is what you're trying to get, but the rest of it's just formatting. So you can change the axes if you want. Okay, so let's make this one, if you want to make it just like the chart, you can make this, which is, you know, first you want to see which good is on each axis. So, the pancakes are on the y-axis and whiskey is on the x. And so if you want to show that, you can click on the chart and click on the plus sign for the chart elements, and then you can add the axis titles. Alright, so this is the y-axis, this is pancakes. And this is whiskey, which is x, get x. Okay, and then if you also want to make it so you're just plotting the specific points in the chart, you can just change the labels on the axes. So if I wanted just to say for pancakes 0, 4, 8, and 12, I can simply do that by selecting this. Yeah, you can right click it and format axes. Okay, and just specify exactly what you have in your chart. So you want to go from 0 to 12 in increments of 4. Alright, so your bounds, your minimum is 0, your max is 12, and your major units are 4. So now it looks just like what you see in the pancake chart. Alright, and if you want, you can do the same for the x-axis, which is whiskey. You can click on the labels like this, right-click it, and go to Format Axes, and specify what you did in the chart, so it's whole numbers, not fractions. Okay, so this one should go from 0 to 3 in increments of 1. So your minimum is 0, your max is 3, and then the major units are just 1. Okay, and I think that gets you to what I showed you on the answer sheet. And I don't know what the title you can do whatever with. Okay, but now I think it looks right compared to the chart. So you specify so if you're doing Excel, do this part first, just put the labels up. Okay, then write your equation, which is equal to Px, the price of x times the first x, which is A2, plus the price of y times the first y, which is B2, and then it should give you your income of whatever it is in the problem, and then just you can do the same to exact out your income for the different combinations. Okay. And then you can plot this area, just plot all the points, and do a little formatting. Okay, so does that help how to get start from scratch, like write the formula and do the graph?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so any other questions on number 3, which is on the budget line analysis problem, question? All right, so let's move on to the final question. So this is going to be on the Chapter 5 material, the profit maximizing input usage, or how to choose labor. All right, so here we go. So this should be similar to what you did or are going to do for Chapter 5 homework. So let's suppose the firm produces output that can be sold at a price of $10, and the production function here is this, the Cobb Douglas one, K to the 1/2, L to the 1/2, and part A, its capital is fixed at 1 unit in the short run. How much labor should be used? How much labor should the firm employ to maximize profits if the wage rate is 15? So I'll start with this. You know that your condition to maximize profits is when the value on the margin of labor is equal to what you pay for labor. So that's the value margin of product equals the wage rate. So that's when you know that you're maximizing profit. Okay, so for this question, all you're doing is calculating the VMPL, set that equal to the wage rate, and then find the appropriate labor that goes with that. So first, you want to write your equation with capital fixed at 1. Okay, so if capital is 1, that means that 1 raised to the 1/2 times L to the 1/2, which simplifies to just L to the 1/2 if capital is fixed at 1. Okay, then you want to differentiate the production function with respect to labor. So dQdL is just differentiate this. So the 1/2 comes down. And then 1 minus 1/2 is negative 1/2. So it's 1/2 L to the minus 1/2. Right, so that's the derivative, that's the MPL, which is dQdL. So next step is to find the MPL, which is price times MPL. And then price here is $10. So 10, a price of 10 times the MPL of 1/2 L to the minus 1/2 comes out to just a half of 10 is 5. So the VMPL is 5L to the minus 1/2. Right, so you got that part. Now set that equal to the wage rate. So the VMPL you just got is 5L to the negative 1/2 equals the wage rate, which is given at 15. All right, so now just do a little bit of algebra and solve for L. You can divide both sides by 5, so that means L to the negative 1/2 equals 3. Then if you raise both sides to the minus 2, you get L equals 3 to the minus 2, and that this comes out, the number is a little weird, but it's 1 over 3 squared, which is 1/9. Alright, so I think I made it I think I made it a whole number on the midterm, but this one happened, didn't come out great, but it comes out to 1/9, so that means L star is 1/9. Okay, and then the last section of question 4 is a different version, some linear version. So instead of firm produces output sold at $1, price is $1. So here's the production function, which is 1K plus 10L squared. And part B is if capital is fixed at 2 units this time in the short run, how much labor should the firm employ to maximize profit if the wage rate is $40? Alright, so I think this one comes out nicer. And so you want to satisfy the same condition, which is the VMPL equals the wage rate. That's when the value goes in equals the value you pay. So that's your condition again. Alright, so first define the production function when the capital is fixed at 2. That means that 1 times 2 plus 10L squared, which is 2 plus 10L squared. Alright, so that's your production function when capital is fixed at 2. Differentiate that with respect to labor, so dQdL is, the 2 part doesn't matter because that doesn't affect labor. So here 2 times 10 is 20, and then 2 minus 1 is 1, so it's 20L is your MPL. Alright, so the MPL of this function, dQdL, is 20L. Alright, then define the VMPL, which is the price times the MPL. So the price was given at $1. And the MPL you just defined, which is 20L. So that means your VMPL is 20L. 1 times 20L is 20L. And then the condition you're trying to satisfy is when the VMPL equals the wage rate. So set 20L equal to the wage rate, which was given at 40. Alright, and this one comes out a little nicer. You just divide both sides by 20, and you get an L star of 2. So you want to employ 2 units of labor here to maximize profits with this production function when capital is fixed at 2. Okay, so this one again is similar to what you did or are going to do for chapter 5 homework that's due today. But any questions on this type of question?
No.
Okay. Okay, so that is the practice exam with my solutions, which is that's posted on Blackboard, which you can look at as an example or reference. Let me post the midterm right now, and so you can look at that, which is due in a couple weeks. So give me a second here. Alright, so I think I posted it here. So if you go to the Blackboard site, you go to that same section. Midterm December 2020. So the thing down here, which I just posted hopefully, is midterm December 2020. So you can click on that. That should be, oh, I gotta post the data file too. So let me put the thing you need for question number 2. So hold on one second. Okay, so that should be, if you go to the midterm summer 2020 section again. Alright, so here we go. Here's the midterm. You can click on that. Okay, so it specifies what it's due, which is the same as the syllabus. And so it just says, submit your answer sheet by email to my email address. And that's due sometime by next meeting, which is Saturday, July 25th. So you're going to have another homework as well due, so make sure you make time. You should have plenty of time in 2 weeks, but you have the midterm, which is this. And then we have another chapter to do, chapter 8, so that's also going to be due in 2 weeks as well. Okay, so this is due, like it says here, Saturday, July 25th via email. And if you could prepare your answer sheet as a Word document or a PDF, either one of those is preferred. So most of you did this for the homework assignments on the Blackboard forum, but if you can either submit it as a Word document or a PDF, it's a lot easier for me to see than just images. So those are preferred, but just do what you can based on your technology setup. Okay, and so if you look through here, there's a question similar to what we just went through as an example. So you have one on net present value. Okay, you have one on the elasticity and regression, and use this file, which I posted, midterm Q2. Okay, so make sure you interpret the appropriate variables. You got the natural log of quantity, the natural log of price, and the natural log of advertising. So that goes, you need this for question 2 to do your analysis. Okay, question 3 is another one on budget line analysis. And there's that one, and then you have number 4, which is on chapter 5 and 2. Okay, so this is the midterm exam. Okay, so this is the midterm exam. It's due in 2 weeks via email. So email me your answer sheet. And if you can put it as a PDF or a Word document, that's preferred. If you do some of the analysis in Excel, or you have to do some in Excel, but whatever you do in Excel, you don't have to submit the Excel file, just the final answer sheet. So you can just copy and paste or take screen caps of the material you need, but you don't have to submit your Excel file. So just put it into the PDF or Word format if you can do that for your answer sheet. Okay, and I think the only other thing you need for this is that Excel file, which is over here. Okay, so any questions on what you have to do for the midterm, which is due in 2 weeks, the email?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so everybody's good on that, I think, and if you have any questions on the midterm, let me know. But, okay, so what time is it now? All right, so we've done this, and I think you guys are prepared to do the midterm. We still have a whole other chapter to do, and you're going to have a homework on that that will also do next meeting. So why don't do you guys want to just take a break now? Let me see what time it is. Yeah, so we're done with the first session, I guess a little earlier than normal. So it's 10:09. Should we just take a 30-minute break now and then come back at like 10:40 instead of 11? How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so maybe if depending on how long chapter 8 takes, we might finish a little bit before 1 o'clock today. But we still have we probably still have another 2 hours, but I think we're a little ahead of schedule. So let's take a break now, and we'll start back in 30 minutes, which will be 10:40. Alright, so you can just stay signed in. I'll post the time we're starting here, and then we'll start chapter 8 at 10:40, so like 20 minutes before normal. Okay, so we'll resume at 10:40. Okay, so I think we're about time to resume. And so if everyone is back, or almost everyone is back, we can start back and do chapter 8 in your textbook. Alright, so we ready to get back to the new material?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to hear somebody say. Alright, so we're going to move on to chapter 8. So again, this is material that'll be on the final exam and not the midterm. So the midterm is kind of a breaking point in the material. So the chapters we'll do from now until the end will be on the final. And so chapter 8 kind of starts, so we kind of did demand, elasticity, consumer behavior, and then costs and how firms make general decisions. And now we're going to go into more detail on the different types of markets. And so we're going to look at some of those starting in chapter 8. So let's go ahead and get the material for chapter 8 on Blackboard. Alright, so we can open up the chapter 8 document with some of the problems that I solved, and then I'll just open up the homework, and we'll get to that later. Okay, and then we can get the PowerPoint for chapter 8. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at reviewing or going back to perfect competition and monopoly and monopolistic competition, and go into some more detail on how those firms, those markets are different, and how those firms might make a decision. So we'll start. So there's an optional video which you might have seen in Biz 500B. Okay, so you might have learned a little bit about this type of market in Biz 500B or in a different introductory econ class. But just to review, the type of market that's called perfect competition or pure competition is like this. So this type of market, this type of model assumes there's many buyers and sellers. Each firm produces, this is kind of the key point, that each firm produces a homogeneous product. Another way of saying that is like a perfect substitute. Okay, so this type of model assumes that all firms are selling the same exact good. Okay, and everyone, buyers and sellers, have perfect information. There's no transaction cost, and there's free entry and exit. Okay, and so this type of market kind of assumes that everything works smoothly, which is obviously not always the case, but this type of model assumes that the firms are selling the same type of good, homogeneous products, perfect substitutes, and there's free entry and exit. Okay, so how would a firm try to make decisions or choose pricing quantity under this type of market? So a competitive firm's demand in a perfectly competitive market is just a horizontal line or a perfectly elastic demand curve. And so I'll show you the graph and explain this, but this might be familiar that the demand curve for a perfectly competitive product is a horizontal line at the market price. And this is the price the competitive firm's marginal revenue curve is also at. And so this will make sense when you look at the graph and think about it, but the demand curve for one individual firm in this type of market is just a straight line, which is also the price and also the marginal revenue. So let me show you a graph of this. Okay, so this is the PDF of the older version of the textbook that I've been looking at. This is on Blackboard. So this is chapter 8, and this is the idea here that the market over time. So a normal supply and demand curve looks like this. Okay, so this is for the whole market, and so what we're saying here is that supply and demand for the whole market in the long run determine the price, but because these firms don't really have the market power and can't influence the price, that this price is set in the short run at here, and therefore the demand curve for the firm is that price. So what we're saying for these type of firms is that they can either sell at that price or not, but they don't have control of the price because there's no type of market power in this market. So the demand curve for an individual firm looks like this, just a horizontal straight line. All right, and so therefore the revenue they earn for each additional unit sold is also that same curve, because each unit sold is the same price, right? Because it's just a question of how many units they choose to sell, if any. And so therefore the demand curve, the price, and the marginal revenue curve are all determined by this market price. Okay, so this type of market, this is the market, and this is an individual firm, which just face a perfectly elastic demand curve. Okay, so the firm has to make some decisions in order to participate in this market. And so this is what the competitive firm would do under perfect competition when faced with these market structures. Is to maximize profit, a perfectly competitive firm is going to produce the output at which price equals marginal cost in the range over which marginal cost is increasing. So normally our profit maximizing rule is where the marginal revenue equals the marginal cost, but because in this type of market the price is equal to the marginal revenue, you can kind of substitute in price. So the condition in which the perfectly competitive firm would want to maximize profit is simplifies to when the price equals the marginal cost at that quantity. So what's the quantity at which this condition is satisfied? All right, so I think I have a little graph of what this looks like. All right, so here we go. So this might be somewhat familiar, but to review, this is all the dollar values on the y-axis. So this is like price and revenue and cost over here. Okay, and this is output or demand or quantity. So we got the price on the y-axis and quantity on the x, like normal. And so because the firm is a price taker, they don't have control of the price. That means that this type of market, these type of firms face a perfectly elastic demand curve like this. Okay, and that's because the price is set by the market in the long run, and this is the only price that the firm can charge. So any price, basically any price below this, it wouldn't be profitable for the firm, and any price above this, the consumers would not pay that price. They're only going to pay this price. Okay, so you can see that this is the marginal cost curve. Okay, and because each additional unit of revenue is the same, the marginal revenue curve is also equal to the price because, like, each additional unit gives you the same additional revenue. So the revenue added on the margin is always the same. It's always just the extra unit times this price. And so therefore the gain in revenue is always the same, or just the additional revenue from each additional unit sold is the same. Okay, it's just equal to the price times that quantity. Okay, so because in this type of market with the horizontal perfectly elastic demand, because the price equals the marginal revenue, we can just say that the firm wants to decide how much output it produces by saying the point at which the marginal cost curve equals the price, which is here. Okay, so here's the price, which is also demand, which is also marginal revenue, and then here's the quantity, Q star, at which marginal cost equals price. And this is the quantity of the firm. This is the best option for the firm. Okay, and so you can do like the profit calculation, which we'll do, which is revenue minus cost. And if you do any other calculation above or below this quantity, okay, so any quantity down here below Q star is going to give you less total profit, and any quantity above Q star over here is going to give the firm less profit. So this if you have the actual numbers, you can do the calculation and see that this is the best case, or this is the profit maximizing choice for the firm. So that's right up to the point when marginal cost equals marginal revenue, which is just like saying that, like, marginal benefit equals marginal cost for this firm. Okay, and then you can kind of see graphically how the profit is calculated. So profit is revenue minus cost. All right, so here's revenue is price times quantity. So this big box is revenue, and then here's the cost, the total cost of this quantity. So this big box, revenue, minus this cost box gives us a remaining profit of this pink area. So you can see kind of geometrically how the profit's calculated. Revenue minus cost, and what's left over is this profit. Okay, so this would be the firm's profit on this graph. Okay, let's look at an example, demonstration problem 8.1. Everybody doing good so far? Following along here?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's look at an example. So demonstration problem 8.1, which is on, I solved this one on the Okay, for the Chapter 8 document, let's go to that to look at this problem, demonstration problem 8.1. All right, so these are the three types of markets we're going to look at in this Chapter 8. So there's some optional videos. Perfect competition, there's that one. We're going to get to monopoly next, and then finally we'll do monopolistic competition. And so if you want just a little more background, and there's some nice 10-minute or so videos on those types of markets, which are, couldn't hurt to watch. All right, so here we go. Here's demonstration problem 8.1, based on the perfect competition firm. So the cost function for a firm is given below. The firm sells output in a perfectly competitive market, and other firms in the industry sell output at a price of 20. What price should the manager of this firm put on the product? And then the second question is, what level of output should be used to maximize profit, and then how much profit will be earned? Okay, so there's your cost function. You might have done some analyses similar to this in the Biz 500B or a different econ course, but here we're given a little bit less information, so we're basically just given the cost function. And you have to know how to get the marginal cost and later the revenue from the cost function. So here's the cost function. CQ equals 5 plus Q squared. Okay, and I think we did this in chapter 5 last time, but make sure you know to break down the fixed cost and the variable cost. So here, the fixed cost is 5 because it doesn't change with Q, and the variable cost is Q squared. Okay, so we'll need to break down the cost later when we want to determine if the firm is going to want to shut down or not. But for now, let's answer these questions. All right, so this firm is perfect competition, which means it's a price taker. Okay, so if other firms in this market sell at $20, that's the only option the firm has because it's in a perfectly competitive market. And so therefore, if the price is set at 20, that's the price the firm has to charge. So this is kind of it's not really a trick, but you don't have to do anything, but if this is the price in the market, just know in pure competition, the firm's going to take that price, and so the only price they can charge is $20. Okay, and also know that in the perfect competition structure only, price equals demand equals marginal revenue, like we just confirmed with the perfectly elastic demand curve. Okay, so first, the profit maximizing rule for all the markets is this general rule, which you might be familiar with, which is where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Okay, so that's the rule we're gonna use. But remember this, in this case, the price equals the marginal revenue, so we can substitute it in there. But we still need to get the marginal cost for this firm. So here's the cost. Five plus Q squared. And to get marginal cost, it's just how does the cost function change on the margin each time you add one additional unit of output. So just differentiate the cost function with respect to output. So dC dQ is equivalent to getting the marginal cost. So if you differentiate this with respect to Q, you just get 2Q, right? So it's just, the 2 comes down, 2 minus 1 is 1, so it's just 2Q is the marginal cost here. Okay, so you know that the profit maximizing rule is MR equals MC to choose the best Q star. And so marginal revenue equals price in this market structure. And you just got the marginal cost of 2Q. So let's set those two equal. Alright, so price is given to 20. You got marginal cost of 2Q, and now all you gotta do is divide both sides by 2, and you get a Q star of 10. Okay, so that's the best output the firm can choose. You can try any other output in the profit formula, and you'll get lower profits. So you can try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can try 15, 16, whatever you want to try. But I guarantee you won't get a higher profit than choosing 10. Okay, so now part C is to get the profit. And so profit is just revenue minus cost, or total revenue minus total cost. Yeah, and then let's just do that calculation. Revenue this is only it's a one good firm. So it's the price times how much they sell, right? Price times quantity is their revenue. And then cost is you have the cost function right here. Okay, so let's put in the given price of 20. We're doing an output of 10, and then let's subtract the fixed cost of 5 and also the variable cost of 2 squared. Alright, so 20 times 10 is 200 minus 5, and then minus our variable cost. Plug in 10 there, so minus 10 squared. Okay, so this part's the revenue. And then that part is the cost. So we get 200 minus 5 minus 100, and that gives us a total profit of $95 for this one. Okay, so we all good on what we did here for this example for perfect competition? Okay, so let's let's look at, so that's a case in which the firm chooses, so in perfect competition, there's kind of three scenarios, and I can show you those graphically. So the first is the best case for the firm, which is to make a profit. The second case is in which they choose to make to sell output, but they still take a loss. But this is going to be a loss minimization case in which the firm, even though the firm is taking a loss, it's better to keep operating because they've already paid the fixed cost, and so operating with a loss is better than operating with a bigger fixed cost. So this is a loss minimization case, where you can see the same calculation. Here's the profit. Here's the revenue. And then this bigger rectangle is the cost. So this minus this gives us a profit, which is actually a loss. But you can kind of see graphically that if they just if they just stopped producing and took the fixed cost, they'd lose more. Okay, so this is a case of loss minimization. We're going to look at an example of this one. And then there's also a third case in which the firm should just shut down completely. So that one looks like this graphically, where here's the best they can do, Q star. Okay, and the revenue here is this, price times quantity, but here is the cost. So this minus this is the whole cost. So what you can see is that if the firm just shuts down, this gray area is the loss, the fixed cost, but if they keep producing, add the pink area as well, so their cost is worse. So the decision to choose Q star is always when MR equals MC, but depending on how costly it is for the firm, they can either make a profit, they can keep producing and minimize losses, or if this is the result, they should just shut down because the fixed cost, you might as well just take the fixed cost and not operate at additional losses. Okay, so it's all based on how costly it is for the firm to produce at that price. Okay, and so we can summarize this decision like this. Okay, so the firm has a cutoff, basically. So in perfect competition, to maximize short-run profits, a perfectly competitive firm should produce in the range of increasing marginal costs, where P equals MC. So we've already done that, but this is the condition in which they should keep producing or shut down. Okay, if the market price is bigger than the average variable cost at that Q star, they should keep producing because they're either going to make a profit or minimize losses. But if the price is less than average variable cost, then they should just shut down because each additional unit they sell, they're going to be losing more than the fixed cost. So this is the cutoff. If the firm determines that price is bigger than average variable cost at Q star, they should keep producing. But if price is less than that, they should go ahead and shut down. And if it's, I guess if it's exactly equal to, it doesn't matter. It's going to be zero. Okay, so we're going to have to check sometimes if the firm should actually keep producing, and that's based on looking at if the price in the market is bigger than or less than or equal to the average variable cost at the optimal Q star. Okay, so let's look at an example of this decision. It looks like a demonstration problem 8.2, which is similar to what we just did, but here we're going to make sure, or we're going to check if the firm should keep producing, and then see what the profit, loss minimization, or shutdown case results. Okay, so let's go to, back to the chapter 8 document. Let's go to the demonstration problem for 8.2 to understand this scenario. Okay, so let's suppose the cost function for a firm is given below. If the firm sells output in a perfectly competitive market and other firms in the industry sell at a price of $10, what level of output should the firm produce to maximize profits or minimize losses? And then what will be the level of profits or losses if the firm makes the optimum decision? So we're just building on what we did in the previous example. Alright, so here's the full cost structure, and you can see that the fixed cost is much higher than it was before. Alright, so that's going to play into a role of decisions here. Alright, so price is set at $10. Alright, nothing we can do about that. But we need to get MR equals MC, and we know that MR is just the price of 10. But marginal cost we have to calculate, and I think it's the same as before. But so here's the cost function: 100 plus 2Q. And differentiate that with respect to Q, dC dQ, and the marginal cost is the same, 2Q. Okay, so let's choose our output based on MR equals MC. Alright, in perfect competition, MR is price, and we just calculated MC of 2Q. So that means that the price of 10 equals the marginal cost of 2Q. Okay, and then just divide by 2, we get a Q star. Our best output we can choose is 5 units. Okay, but now before we calculate the profit, let's make sure that condition holds where the average variable, remember this condition where we want to keep producing if average variable cost is bigger than price. Alright, so let's first calculate average variable cost. So that's just take the variable cost and divide by Q, right, to average with that variable cost. So variable cost here is Q squared. And that means that average variable cost is Q squared divided by Q, which is just Q. So the average variable cost is just Q. So the question here is the price, Q star, bigger than the average variable cost at that Q star? And if it is, then we're going to keep producing. If it's not, we should shut down. So the price, here's the condition we're trying to satisfy. Alright, so price is 10. The average variable cost at Q star, just plug in 5 into this. Alright, so we know that 10 is bigger than 5, and therefore we should keep producing because price is bigger than average variable cost.
Wait, where did you get the 5 from?
So the 5 is from just our Q star. So here's average variable cost is equal to Q, right?
Mm-hmm.
Average variable cost at Q star, right? So just plug in our Q star of 5 into this equation, and the equation is just Q. So when average variable cost is Q, added at a Q star of 5, the average variable cost is just 5.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so Q star is 10, average variable cost is Q, and at a Q star of 5 is 5. So 10 is bigger than average variable cost, and therefore we confirm the firm is going to keep producing. All right, so let's calculate the profit for part 2. So profit's the same, total revenue minus total cost. And total revenue is the price times quantity minus the cost function. Okay, price is $10. We chose 5 output of Q, and then minus the total cost of 100 plus Q squared. Okay, so let's keep solving this. Profit is 10 times 5, which is 50, and then minus the fixed cost of 100, then minus Q squared, which is 5 squared, because we chose 5 units. Okay, and if you do this full calculation, you get 50 minus 100 minus 25, which actually gives us negative 75. Okay, so you want to see that even though the firm takes a loss, okay, so even though the firm takes a loss, this is what they should be doing because this is a loss minimization case. And so if they produce, they lose $75. Alright, so what happens, so why is that better than, what happens if the firm shuts down, what do they lose? So if they produce, they lose 75. If they shut down completely, what are their losses? So it's 100. So you can see, you should be able to look at the cost function and confirm that you made the right choice, where if the firm keeps producing, they take a loss, but it's only $75. If they shut down, they lose $100 because they already paid the fixed cost. So you should, if you get a loss minimization case like this, the loss should be better than just shutting down, because if you shut down, you've already lost the fixed cost. Okay, so minus 75 is better than minus 100. Okay, do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that should help clarify that sometimes when the firm is, even if the firm takes a loss, that sometimes it's better to minimize losses by producing than suffering the whole fixed cost and losing more. Okay, so this should bring us to understand the firm's short-run supply curve. So the short-run supply curve for a perfectly competitive firm is the marginal cost curve above the minimum point on the average variable cost curve. And this should make total sense given the condition we just went over. So here's what the graph looks like. Okay, so we just determined the cutoff point for producing. So we said if the price is bigger than average variable cost, they're going to produce. And if it's less than that, they're going to shut down. So therefore, the points at which it produces are when it supplies. So anything above this condition Okay, anything above that condition that the firm supplies, anything below it is shut down. Okay, so therefore anything above, any price above here, the firm is supplying, any price down here, the firm shuts down, so there is no supply. So therefore we confirm that the supply curve starts here, and any price above this point to this graph, the firm's going to produce or supply. Any point down here, they're going to shut down because it's not worth it to supply. So the supply curve is just this portion of the marginal cost curve above the minimum point on the average variable cost curve at the Q star. Okay, and then in the long run, it looks like this. A perfectly competitive firms produce at a level where they kind of break even, and that's when price equals marginal cost, or the minimum of the average cost. And so that looks like this. Alright, so before we get to the long run curve, this is what this type of model says, is that in the short run, firms can make profits or take losses. And so if the firms are making profits, okay, that means that there's going to be an increase of supply of firms because there's profit to be made, and there's going to be some adjustments made which kind of push the price down and eliminate those profits eventually. Okay, but if this is a bad market and firms are taking losses, then some firms are going to leave, and then there'll be less supply. So this type of market assumes that firms eventually adjust, where if there's profits being made, other firms come in and kind of eliminate those profits. And if there's losses occurring, then firms leave until it adjusts back to the true price. And then in theory, this is what the long run equilibrium looks like, or the long run supply curve as well, is that we kind of assume that all costs can be changed. So before we had average variable cost and average fixed cost. So in the long run, all those things are the same. Everything is just a cost. And in the long run, we're at the minimum of this curve, which essentially means that given enough time, that all firms kind of break even. Okay, so this is the long run price and a long run output, in which all firms kind of gravitate towards the minimum of their average cost curve. And all the firms that made a profit, they made it in the short run. And all the firms that took a loss, they took a loss in the short run, but eventually this is the break-even point. And we'll see that the other markets, like monopoly and et cetera, the firms can make a long-run profit. But in this type of market, the assumption is that all firms eventually break even. Either they make a profit in the short run, they take a loss in the short run, but over time, this is the condition. All right. So that's the perfect competition. We still have two more types of markets to look at in this chapter, but that's the first one, which is essentially the firms are all selling the same exact perfect substitute good, homogeneous good, and they're all competing at the same price. Alright, so we're ready for the next type of market, which is monopoly. So we've done the perfect competition stuff. And the complete opposite type of market is monopoly, where there's essentially just one firm that has the whole market. Okay, monopoly. So monopoly is a market structure that you're probably familiar with. There's one firm that has the entire market, and there's no other firm, at least in this segment, that has anything close to it. So a market structure in which a single firm serves an entire market for a good that has no close substitute. Okay, so I think you probably learned about some aspects of monopoly before, but just to review, this is the most common types of monopoly you're probably familiar with are most likely your local utilities, like the electric company, which is depending on where you live, it could be Edison, but okay, so public utilities. I don't know if I spelled that right, but public utilities are most likely monopolies, so that's like the electric company. Okay, so most likely, depending on where you live, these types of services would be defined as monopolies. Okay, so your electricity service, your gas service, your water service, and your trash service, most likely, you only have one option, and you have to either pay the bill or not, but you can't really shop around for these services, and so that's why we call them monopolies. So most public utilities would be classified as a monopoly. Okay, and so there is kind of there's a new argument to be made, or a new, I don't know, push that Wi-Fi, or the Wi-Fi that people have in their homes, some government wants, or some people want to classify that possibly as a utility. So there's an argument going on now that whether the fact that Wi-Fi services that you get at your home are right now they're private companies, like you pay Comcast or Spectrum or whoever you have your Wi-Fi through, your home internet. And so there's a new argument now that maybe that should be classified as a utility. And if that's the case, over time that could become a monopoly, in which that's a publicly provided good, but we're probably a ways away from that. But there is a new argument for classifying home internet or Wi-Fi as a utility. Okay, but it's not now, obviously, because it's owned by a private company. Okay, so let's look at how monopolies make decisions compared to perfect competition. Okay, so a monopoly is going to choose profit, in which the same condition holds, MR equals MC. So profit maximizing monopolists should produce the output QM, or I usually call it Q star, such that marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So the same rule in which to choose Q star. Okay, but the thing about the monopoly is it gets to set its price. It's not just determined by long-run demand. The monopoly has a choice of setting its price, and so the price they would probably like to choose is chosen this way. So the monopoly pricing rule is like this. So first they choose the Q star. Okay, and then given the leveled output, QM or Q star, that maximizes profits, the monopoly is going to price the good corresponding on looking at the demand curve after they choose the QM or Q star unit. So basically, after they choose Q star or QM, if they have an estimation of the demand curve, they would see what the market would be willing to pay at that Q star, and then charge that price. All right, so before we're going to do a few more demonstration problems for monopoly. Let me show you some graphs on how this is different than pure competition, perfect competition, same thing. All right, so the major difference is the individual monopolist compared to the individual perfect competition firm it's not a straight line anymore. So demand is not horizontal, it's downward sloping like a normal demand curve. And so the demand curve the monopolist faces looks like a downward sloping demand curve, like it used to. And so depending on what price they charge, demand changes. So the demand curve is not perfectly elastic, and the marginal revenue curve is not perfectly a straight line either. All right, so you can see here that the demand curve is a normal demand curve for a monopoly. So if they charge a higher price, the demand decreases, and vice versa, like just the law of demand. And the MR curve changes based on the amount of output that's sold. And we can do a quick calculation of marginal revenue from the demand curve that we're going to do in the examples. But just note that demand curve is downward sloping, and the marginal revenue curve is also downward sloping. It's always below the demand curve like this. All right, so here's the graph we want to look at. So notice the difference here compared to the perfect competition firm. So the perfect competition firm, the demand curve was just a straight line, right? But for the monopolist and all the other firms, the demand curve is downward sloping, which is probably more familiar. And that's because the monopolist can change the price, and the monopolist has control over the price, and the market reacts to the price. Okay, so there's our downward sloping demand curve. This pink line is the marginal revenue curve. Okay, and before we do the example, you can see graphically what we're trying to solve for is the profit maximizing solution for the monopolist is when MR equals MC, which is right here. Okay, so the monopolist would choose Q star first, and then the monopolist gets to set the price, and the best price they can choose is after they choose Q star, they would go look at the demand curve here. Alright, and that's the price consumers would be willing to pay at that Q star. So first we choose Q star, then we plug in Q star into the demand curve, and that's the monopolist price. Okay, and you can see the same geometric calculation where this is revenue, price times quantity, And this is the cost, average total cost at 2 stars here. All right, so revenue minus cost, and the result is profit, the pink arrow. All right, so that's what it looks like graphically. Let's do some examples of doing the profit max for Monopoly. Let's look at demonstration problem. Oh yeah, we got a couple here. Let's do demonstration problem 8.4, and then also demonstration problem 8.5. Okay, everybody doing okay so far?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, great. And so here we go. Demonstration problem 8.4 is let's set up how the firm or the monopolist would choose price. So let's suppose the inverse demand function for a monopolist product is given below. And what's the maximum price per unit a monopolist can charge to be able to sell 3 units? And also, what's the marginal revenue when Q equals 2? All right, so this will give us a couple key features that we do differently when we're looking at monopoly versus perfect competition. So first, if this is a demand curve, and the monopolist decides they want to sell 3 units, okay, then just the price they should charge is just plug in a Q of 3 into the demand curve. So P equals 10 times 2Q for demand. Alright, so if we're choosing a Q star of 3, just plug in that there. So 10 minus 2 times 3, and the price they should charge is 10 minus 6, which is 4. So the monopolist price is taking their best Q and putting it into the demand curve to see what the market would pay for that value. Okay, and also note that you can get or calculate revenue from just the demand curve. So here's the demand curve. P equals 10 minus 2Q. And we know that total revenue is just price times quantity, right? So to get total revenue based on this, just assume this is price. Okay, so total revenue is price times quantity. So here price is 10 minus 2Q. Okay, and then just multiply that by Q. So this is P times Q, and this will give us total revenue as just a function of Q. Alright, so here's P, here's Q, and therefore total revenue is just distribute the Q, 10Q minus 2Q squared. Alright, so just use the simple relationship and then use for price, just use the demand curve. Okay, but it asks for marginal revenue, and so you know that the marginal revenue is how this changes when we change Q by 1 unit. So that's another way of saying differentiate the total revenue curve with respect to Q, and that is going to give you your marginal revenue curve. So MR is just the derivative of TR with respect to Q. Okay, so differentiate this with respect to Q, and we get 10 minus 4Q. Right, so this is just 10, and 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So If you differentiate this with respect to Q, it's 10 minus 4Q. And that is the marginal revenue curve. Okay, and it asks what's marginal revenue when Q is 3. So plug in a Q3 into the MR curve. So MR3 is 10 minus 4 times a Q of 3, and that gives us 10 minus 12. Which is minus 2. Okay, and that should, if you look at the general graph we looked at in the chapter, okay, so marginal revenue can be negative if you get produce beyond this quantity Q star, then you can get a marginal revenue of negative, which means that each additional unit gives you less revenue on the margin. Yeah, so that's how you get like a marginal revenue of minus 2. So that probably means that you've produced or you've gone into this region. Okay, so back to the problem here. Alright, so demonstration problem 8.4 showed us how to get the monopolist price based on Q star, how to get total revenue, and then how to get marginal revenue. So we'll need all those aspects when we do the full monopolist problem, which is demonstration problem 8.5. Okay, so suppose the inverse demand function for a monopolist product and the cost function are given below. Let's determine the profit maximizing price and quantity and the maximum profit. So the difference here compared to the perfect competition is we're given a demand curve because it's not just a straight line. So there's the demand curve, 100 minus T equals 100 minus 2Q, and the cost function is 10 plus 2Q. Okay, so let's use those two given equations to solve the problem for the monopoly. So we need to find this condition where MR equals MC. Okay, but to do that, we need to get MR, we need to get MC. So we can start over here with cost. The cost function is given, 10 plus 2Q. And if you differentiate that with respect to Q, dC dQ, that's your marginal cost, so that's just 2. So the marginal cost based on this cost function is just 2. Okay, and then we need to get the total revenue and then marginal revenue. So total revenue is price times quantity. Price uses the demand curve, 100 minus 2Q, and then times Q. So the total revenue is 100Q minus 2Q squared. So just multiply by Q, and then you want to differentiate that with respect to Q to get the marginal revenue, just like we did in the previous one. So the derivative of this with respect to Q is just 100 minus 4Q. Okay, which is equal to the marginal revenue. Okay, so now we got MR, we got MC, and we need to set those equal to choose the best Q star for this monopoly. So MR 100 minus 4Q, set that equal to MC, which is 2. And now let's solve for Q. Okay, so add 4Q to both sides and subtract 2, and we get 4Q equals 98. Now just divide by 4, and 98 divided by 4 gives us a Q star. The monopolist output is 24.5 units. Okay, now the next step is to determine the monopolist price, which is take Q and plug it into the demand curve, and that's the price. Okay, so here's the demand curve. T equals 100 minus 2Q, that's given. Alright, so let's plug in our Q of 24.5 to determine what price we should charge. So 100 minus 2 times 24.5 gives us 100 minus 49, and that's a price of $51. Okay, and then finally, you can calculate the profit if the monopolist makes a profit, and that's the same way, total revenue minus total cost. Total revenue is price times quantity, and cost is given by the cost function. Okay, we're charging $51 times Q of 24.5, that's our revenue. Okay, and cost is 10 plus 2Q, so let's subtract that. Uh, 51 times 24.5 is 1,249.5. And then minus the fixed cost of 10. And then minus 2 times our Q star of 24.5 is our total cost. And this comes out to 1,249.5 minus 10 minus 49. And if you solve this, you get a profit for the monopolist of $1,190.50. Okay, so there's a few more steps when you have a monopoly because they get to choose their price, and you also have to calculate total revenue, but same concept. All right, so questions of what we did here for the monopolist profit maximizing example. Okay. All right, so we have a third type of market to analyze, and you might be familiar with this structure, which is called monopolistic competition. So we need to determine how this type of firm makes decisions, which is actually very similar to monopoly. But just to clarify, this type of market, monopolistic competition. So a monopolistically competitive market is a market in which these conditions hold. Okay, so there's many buyers and sellers. The key feature here, or the key distinction, is that each firm produces a differentiated product, and then there's free entry and exit. So this is probably the most common type of market. I'd say that most general products go in here because most firms are selling things that are similar but different, like I don't know, shoes. So you can think of 1,000 examples, but cards. So anything where, like, that you can buy shoes, so you have many different options. The same as cereal, and you can buy 1,000 different types of towels. You can, I don't even know how many types of brands sell dishes in cars, so you can buy, you know where to go to buy these things, but you're deciding from, slightly different types of shoes or slightly different types of cereal and so on, but there's many firms selling something in that category, but they're a little bit different. So I think most products go into this type of market. Okay, so let's look at, I have an example, another one for profit maximization for this type of market. Let's look at the monopolistic competitive graph first, and then we'll do the demonstration problem. Okay, so the graph looks similar to what we just looked at for profit maximizing and monopoly. And so you have a downward sloping demand curve, you have a downward sloping MR curve, and you're still trying to find when MR equals MP. Choose the best output. And then you can charge the price that consumers are willing to pay at that Q star. Okay, so the decision-making process is the same. The difference is the market is slightly different because there's more options in here versus monopoly. So because the consumer can shop around for these goods, shoes, cereal, towels, dishes, cars, etc., that means that the demand curve is slightly more elastic because the consumer has options. Okay, so let me write that here in the chat. The big distinction between these two markets. Okay, so this is a major distinction, I think, between these two markets. So the demand curve for monopolistic competition for those firms is relatively elastic versus the monopoly demand curve, which is relatively inelastic. And that should make total sense because in a monopoly, you can't really shop around, and so if the monopoly raises its price, if you need the good or service, you pretty much have to pay the price or not get it. Whereas in this type of market, monopolistic competition, if one company raises the price of shoes too much, you can just buy a different pair of shoes. So all those types of markets and many others, they're limited by what they can do with their price because if they overprice too much, they'll lose customers to their competitors. So all these prices are going to be kind of in a range, but all these firms know that if they do something ridiculous with their price, they're going to lose a lot of customers. So customers have options in monopolistic competition, so that by definition makes the demand curve much more elastic. Okay, but other than that, you can see the situation in which the individual firm is maximizing profit is similar, and let's look at that another example for a monopolistic competition maximizing profit. Alright, so demonstration problem 8.7 is here. So let's suppose that inverse demand function for a monopolistic competitive firm's product and the cost function are given below. Let's determine the profit maximizing price and quantity and the maximum profit. So we're basically doing the same thing, but this is an example of a monopolistically competitive firm, not a monopoly. Okay, so here's the demand curve. P equals 100 minus 2Q. And here's the cost function, 5 plus 2Q. Alright, so let's follow the same steps. First we need marginal revenue and marginal cost. Okay, so marginal cost, cost is 5 plus 2Q. That means marginal cost is 2. If we differentiate that with respect to Q, MC is 2. Let's define total revenue, which is price times quantity, price use the demand curve, 100 minus 2Q times Q. And if you distribute the Q, you get 100Q minus 2Q squared. And that means the MR is 100 minus 4Q. Okay, if you differentiate this with respect to Q, that's your MR, which is 100 minus 4Q. Alright, so we got MR, we got MC. We need to satisfy the conditions, set them equal, and find the best output for this firm. Okay, so MR is 100 minus 4Q. MC is 2. What we're going to do here, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides and add 4Q to both sides. So we get 4Q equals 98. And we get 98 divided by 4 is 24.5, so we get a Q star of 24.5. So far this looks very similar to the previous one. So the cost function is slightly different, but Q star is 24.5. Now let's find out what the market would pay. So what is the monopolistically competitive price? Plug in 24.5 into the demand curve. So P equals 100 minus 2Q, that's our demand, and 100 minus 2 times we chose Q of 24.5. So that means 100 minus 49, which is Q star of 51. And let's finally do the profit calculation, total revenue minus total cost. Total revenue is price times quantity minus the cost function of 5 plus 2Q. So plug in our P of 51, our quantity of 24.5, and then minus the total cost of 5 plus 2Q. Okay, so this comes out to 51 times 24.5 is 1,249.5 minus 5. minus 2 times 24.5 for our Q, and we get 1,249.5 minus 5 minus 49, and this profit is 1,195.50 cents. Alright, so slightly different from the previous example, but this was very similar numbers. But the process in determining profit is similar, or the same. For a monopolist is a competitive firm versus monopoly. The difference is, like I said there, that the products are different, the consumers have more options, and the demand curve is going to be a lot flatter because it's more elastic. Alright, so we did the profit max example for monopolist and competition. Okay, which was very similar to monopoly because they both have downward sloping demand curves, and you want to find where MR equals MC and do the rest of the steps. Okay, and just I think I have a few slides on advertising because this is part of monopolist and competition a lot because firms are trying to differentiate themselves from, you see lots of advertising for cars, for shoes, for cereal. I don't know so much about towels, but maybe so. And there's different types of advertising where you're trying to set your product apart, show the comparison between your good and the other service. Okay, and then brand equity is the additional value, if any, that you get from having the brand. So, this comes into a lot with, brand names versus generic. So think of the brands that have, when you think of that brand, that kind of defines the product. Band-Aid, there's other types of bandages, but Band-Aid is the main one. And you can think of other things like that, which are, when you think of the brand name, it really, that's what you think of when you're describing the product. Band-Aid, Saran Wrap, I can't think of any other right now, but there's a bunch in which when you define the product, the brand is the most distinguishable part. So the additional value from the brand itself is the brand equity. There's other types of marketing depending on the type of market. If it's like a niche good, if it's like a baby product, or fits a certain clientele, you probably want to advertise towards that market. If you're advertising towards something that has environmental benefits, you might want to focus on green marketing because that might be your customer base. All right, and then there's pros and cons to advertising. The good thing is it's a good way of getting information to your clients and explaining the differences between your good or service and your competitors. There's also some bad points to advertising in which the information can be misleading, or you can withhold some pricing information. You might see I'm sure you guys always see an advertisement for the new internet service, and it's new internet for $30, but that's only if you bundle it with 30 other things, and it's only for a month. So you have to pay attention to all the information in an advertisement. Okay, so we have a few more things to look at, so we kind of went through the PowerPoint or the summary of these three types of markets, which were perfect competition, monopoly, and monopolistic competition, and how those firms make decisions. We're going to spend a lot more time on another type of market next meeting, which is oligopoly. And so Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 are going to deep dive into oligopoly, and we're going to look at different types of oligopoly models, and then a lot more into game theory. So that's what's coming in Chapter 9 and 10. Okay, so any questions so far on these three types of markets before I show you guys the homework? Alright, so I think we're done with the PowerPoint. I can close this. Alright, so on the Chapter 8 section on Blackboard, you can, I think I already opened this up, but let's look at the homework. Okay, so this is due next time as well, in addition to the midterm. Alright, so let's go through this real quick. So there's one question on basically each of the types of markets we looked at. So you have a big question on, so number one, you're given some information. Here's a total cost curve. And then basically the answer to each of these is one of them is going to be for perfect competition, one's going to be for monopoly, and one's going to be for monopolistic competition. And so I didn't tell you guys exactly what type of market it was, because there should be enough information to figure it out. So do part A, which is determine the price for this one, and B is to determine output based on the profit maximizing rule. And then in each of these you're going to check if this condition holds to determine if the firm should keep producing or shut down. Then calculate profits or losses. And then the last part of each of these questions is just a statement which describes the market, and it should be very clear which type of market it is. But I just wanted you to be able to determine which kind of market it is based on the description of what they're selling. So the first one is this firm sells orange juice, which is a perfect substitute at a farmer's market, so it should be clear what type of market that is. Okay, and this one, question 2, this firm sells cereal and competes with other firms which sell slightly differentiated cereal, so it should be clear what that type of market is too. And then the final one, this is a public electricity company, so you should definitely know what type of market that is too. So I tried to make a full question where you get the demand curve if needed and the cost function for each of these. You do the profit maximization problem for each firm. You determine quantity and price and profit or losses. You check if the firm is doing the right decision by continuing to produce or if they should shut down. And then just identify what type of market it is. And again, it should be pretty obvious, but each of these, one of these is going to be a monopoly, one's going to be perfect competition, and one's going to be monopolistic competition. Okay, and these will help you prepare for something which will be on the final, which will be soon. Okay, so questions on what you have to do or any issues with the homework? It's structured like this. Okay, so let's let me see what we have here. Okay, so today, sometime today, make sure you have these 3 assignments submitted, which are due today. The elasticity homework, homework chapter 4 and homework chapter 5 are all due today at some point. Okay, so those 3 go here, and once all those are submitted, I'll try to I'll get your grades in at some point for those and post the solutions for those. Okay, and then once you finish that for next time, before next or sometime by next Saturday, you got to submit the midterm, and so that's due via email. And so there's instructions in the final the questions, but submit that to email. All right. So when you send your midterm answer sheet, just send it to my email, and I'll probably email you back saying I received it just to confirm. Okay, and then this chapter 8 is due that's due next week as well, which goes right there. All right, so make sure that to get these 3 in first if you haven't done so already. And then I don't know, I'd recommend doing the midterm first, and then doing chapter 8 homework just based on chronological order, but it's up to you. Okay, so questions on assignments that are due or what to do by today and by next meeting, which is Saturday, July 25th. Okay, so let's see, what time is it? Okay, well, a few more things before we end, but I think we're going to finish early today, because that's okay with you guys. So so these 3 things do today, these 2 do next time, and then when we meet in 2 weeks, on Saturday, July 25th, we're going to do chapter 9, we're going to do chapter 10, and then those are the 2 assignments that we do then. So, again, these are due today, these are due next time. You don't have to wait till the last minute to turn in these things. You can turn them in whenever you want, but it's up to you. So, you guys, I think, know what to do. When I have time, I'll go through all these assignments and get your grades for those and post the solutions. And I'll probably have today's YouTube lecture up later today. Okay, so yeah, looks like we've got done a little earlier than I thought I would, and I think that's what I want to cover for today. You're good for the midterm, you're good for chapter 8, and you know what to do. So everybody good on all the assignments and all the material?
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay, well, I think that's what I want to cover for today, and I think you guys are prepared for the midterm and the homework, and make sure you get everything in today if you haven't done so already, but I think that's it for this meeting, and thank you guys for joining, and stay safe, and it's super hot today, so be careful if there's 100 degrees out, but anyway, thank you guys for joining. I'll stay on for a few minutes in case you have questions, but that's all we got for today, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Send me an email if you have any questions about any assignments, but thank you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.